Hey, Mike, I got a word for you.
Yeah? What you got?
Yeah. Tromboner.
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 Oh, shit. Let me think about this for a second because, I mean, all these have some kind of a context. And a trombone you play with your hand and it's got a slide.
Yeah. Hey, you're right on. You're going down the right road.
Boner would be something that you could slide your hand up and down, along the shaft. So, but I don't know if I can connect the final dot.
Do you want a little bit of a
That's
hint?
me. That's what my wife says. I always get like about half, a third of the way there. So
Okay. So like with a trombone, you would use your hand to like move the slide up and down, right?
yeah.
But there's another part of your body you're using while you're playing the trombone.
Another part of your body.
Yeah.
I mean, so typically it would be your hands. That's not what you're using. You
are using that, yes.
God, I'm trying to think which. There are only so many. Oh, there are only. Okay, is this a unit? A one person activity?
No, it takes two people.
Oh, okay. All right, shit. I'm gonna say when somebody stands behind you, and I guess rubs it out because
you mean like a reach around?
Yeah, kind of reach forward.
Nah, you were close. You were so close.
Hey, I said, that's what my wife says all the time.
Tromboner. When you're tossing a guy's salad and you reach around and jerk him off like you're playing a trombone.
Oh, God.
I love that one. That's a good one. Did you have one, Mike?
No, I don't. Let's just start the show.
Let's just start the show. All right, let her roll. All right, this is a few seconds later, but this show is not safe for work. If you're around sensitive ears, this is your only warning. Because it's time for the MythWits, the show dedicated to all things geek pop culture, drenched in absurdity and coated with sarcasm. That's right, folks. It's mostly jokes. Get jokes? Every week, we bring you the news and interviews from the Geekoverse. We do our damnedest to be funny. I did say they were jokes, but there are no guarantees. I'm your host, Peter Bryant, and joining me this week is Mike Kafis.
Tromboner,
Mike the Tromboner. Our guest on this episode is James Grimm Desborough of Postmodern Studios. And James, I got that one right, didn't I?
You got my name right. You got the name of the company wrong.
A postmortem. I said postmodern. God damn it! Almost had it. Postmortem.
Hey, we still get the drink.
So close. I got the name right. No, we
got my name right.
Yeah. Heck, well, we had James on Game School, and Chad could not get his fucking name right. And James had told him like 6 times, and Chad's like Desborough, and he's like Desborough. Okay, Desborough. It's like, come on, Chad. Not that hard. All right. So anyway, hey everybody, welcome to the show. James, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. We are pre-recording this show, so it's not live. This is not a live. Well, I mean, we're recording it live, but it's not being presented live because James lives in a part of the world where 3 a.m. is not cool to do interviews. I like our guests to be with it, so we agreed to record ahead of time, which is good because tomorrow's my birthday, and I don't want to be recording a show on my birthday. I'll be busy drinking.
Happy birthday.
Sounds perfectly reasonable.
To you.
I mean, I've done interviews at 3 a.m. before, but it's a bit brains by that point. So.
Yep.
Perhaps with some podcasts that have just a little bit higher listenership. Maybe we can get you 3 a.m. next year. just be a little self-deprecating.
Known to be a rakish fop, gentleman bastard, and 10 times more charming than that Arnold on Green Acres, James is a game designer, author, and blogger who has worked primarily on role-playing games, as well as card games, board games, and social computer games. Mike, cue image number 1.
Yeah, cueing image number 1, sir.
All right, James. So let's establish some cred here. James has, I think, was your first big product the Munchkin's Guide to Power Gaming? Was that your?
Yes, yeah, that was it. From which all Munchkin stuff has since evolved. Yeah.
Okay.
My writing partner, Steve Mortimer, who tends to get forgotten, unfortunately, but no, he was very much involved.
Oh, good. Okay. And you guys got an Innie for that, right?
Yeah. So it was either 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no,
then,
not an Innie. Origins Award.
Origins. Okay, Origins. Okay, I misread that one. All right. But then you also did work on the Monster Manual 5. Now, was that 3.5? I mean, I'm sorry, was that 4 or 5?
That was 4, tail end of 3.5.
3.5. Okay, so that was a 3.5 book. And then City of Stormreach with Keith Baker's Eberron.
Ah.
Yes. They basically chose me because I was one of the very few people who'd actually played the MMO.
Oh, God. All right.
So that made me an expert. But that was fun. But it's trouble with both those projects, I think, is they were at the tail end of 3.5, so not a lot of people saw them, unfortunately.
Right. So do you think there'll be any updates for any of that stuff, any of that material going over to 5 at all?
It's hard to tell. I'm a bit out of the loop on Wizard stuff these days. So
Right. So then so you are now working more or less for you're doing your stuff with postmortem, right? And and Chronicle City you're doing work with.
Yeah, working with Angus Abramson.
Right. And are you working with anyone else or any other groups or doing any freelance stuff or anything like that?
I've tended to concentrate more on my own stuff. I mean, the kind of pay that you can get in the industry doing freelancing and so on has pretty much plateaued and hasn't really changed since 2000, to be honest. So, you know, like 1 to 3 cents a word doesn't really cut it for freelancing, and then often you don't get paid if it doesn't get published.
Right.
So yeah, you can put in a couple of months' work and see nothing out of it. So I tend to prefer working for myself these days.
Okay. All right. Now, for anyone watching this show, you may have seen James in a controversial light at times. He's done some controversial stuff, and we're not going to deep dive into that at all, you know, because our show is not political. We don't take sides on stuff, other than to say, you know, I personally am against cyberbullying people and things like doxing and stuff. I don't care if you disagree with somebody's opinion. I don't care if you think they're a complete asshole, but to actually go out of your way to make their life hell, I have no respect for that whatsoever. I think that's mean and arrogant, and I think it's narcissistic. I mean, I don't know, but that's pretty much what we're going to dive into, other than to say, so to talk about the products themselves. So like you had the Slayer's Guide to Female Gamers, which I thought was kind of funny, tongue in cheek. I mean, I don't have it, but I was looking at it.
That was kind of my first hint that something was off. Because I mean, obviously it's a tongue in cheek book. You wouldn't write a book on how to kill women, which is what people apparently thought, and it just seemed ludicrous. And it wasn't a problem in this country, and it wasn't a problem in editing or with Mongoose, who it was written for, or at conventions. I ended up signing lots of copies of it at conventions and so on. But when we put it into US distribution, it was the US stores and the US distributors were like, oh my God, we can't stock this book. It's about killing women. What? No, obviously it's not. Back then, though, I can't remember when that was published. Actually, it must have been
some time ago,
fairly early 2000s. Yeah, so that was kind of before this whole new PC wave hit. So I think that was more the kind of tail end of the sort of D&D is satanic sort of worry. Oh, we don't want to have this kind of image associated with games, sort of thing. I think people were kind of their sensitivity was dialed up from that kind of thing. So that was a bit different. Though I did get some, and since I've gotten a bit of harassment on the idea that it's supposedly sexist and so on, when really it's about making fun of stereotypical gamer attitudes towards women, not women. You know.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of times, and I see this often. Our buddy Tim Kask just recently got hit with a bunch of what I'm going to call the thought police. He wanted to have a game for women only, and he wanted it. The reason why I said women only is because it was for women who were not gamers. So it specifically said the wives and girlfriends of gamers, which all of a sudden everybody jumped in his ass. They're like, oh, women aren't gamers. Women can't be gamers. And you got to make a game easier for women because they can't game and stuff. And, it keeps going back to exactly the sentence he used. He said, wives of and girlfriends of gamers, which indicates that they're not gamers. So it's saying if you don't game and you are a female or woman, sorry, everybody goes crazy when you say female. If you are a woman and you don't game, this is something for you that'll be lighthearted, easy to play, very welcoming, and for women only. So you don't have to worry about there being guys at the game who might, pick at you or whatever. It was supposed to be like a nice, comfortable environment for women who don't normally game who want to learn about it.
So wait,
and
yeah,
Pete, over him.
Pete, let me ask you this: what you're saying is Tim had the best intentions,
yes,
did something, put something out there, and you would say that shots were fired.
Yes, shots were
definitely fired.
Right across the bow, Mike. Shots fired. But
see, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable idea to me. I mean, the idea is it's a introductory project for people who are partners of people who game, who don't necessarily do it and might be interested and looking for something a bit more handholdy to get them in, like you'd write a game for kids just getting into games, but it's taken as an insult somehow. I mean, I'm familiar enough with the mindset to know why, but it just seems counterproductive.
Well, I think the big question is also, is there a right way to try and market this where it could have a positive spin, or is it just going to be looked upon purely negatively for the sake of trying, naysayers? Because, I mean,
the thing is, there's plenty of female-oriented games and projects out there. I mean, one seems to pop up on Kickstarter every 5 minutes, it seems like these days, which all have pretty much the same intent, but they're all very heavy and kind of, politically oriented. Things like, was it Night Witches and that 1950s housewife zombie one, I can't remember what it's called. There's a few projects out there like that. So they're coming at it from a very kind of worthy, politically oriented kind of thing. And it sounds like he was just trying to bring people and say, hey, look, games are fun and they're for everybody, and why don't you give it a go?
Right.
So, and those projects are headed up by women, and he's a guy. I mean, maybe that's
he's an old white guy.
Well, yeah.
So
Knell of Doom, right?
Right, but it drove me nuts. Okay, that kind of stuff drove me nuts because she didn't approach him. She didn't like the way it was worded. So I guess I will admit that I think it could have been worded a little bit better. However, I read through it several times. I'm like, I'm not, if you just read it, it says wives and friends, wives and girlfriends of gamers. I'm like, that means that they're not gamers. But by definition, he's saying of gamers. So they're not gamers. So you're not talking down to them. He's saying, if you're not familiar, it'd be kind of like, I'm going to teach a class on how to build a wall. And I want to bring in people who are wives and girlfriends of construction workers, so they can understand what their husband or boyfriend or whatever does during the day. Right now, am I being sexist saying women can't build walls? No, I'm not. There are plenty of women out there who build through construction work. I've worked with some of them. They're great, but I'm not saying them, because if I would have said that, I would have said I want women construction workers,
women who
come in
are.
and do this. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I just found that was,
I think they would have the same complaint to you if you did that, actually.
Really? That just amazes me. I guess.
So what's the right answer? Is there any way to start a dialogue with these people and actually say,
no,
what can we do? What would be right?
Nothing. Stay away.
Very occasionally you can find someone willing to have a conversation. You don't tend to get anywhere, but you can at least have a conversation.
There are plenty of rational women who understand the issues, like Angelia, right? Mm-hmm. I talked with her about this whole thing. She's like, she's a feminist. She's a woman. She likes who she is, and she's very comfortable. And she's like, yeah, they're out of control. She's like, I just don't understand what the hell is going on. She's like, so it's just irrational people. They go all bug nuts crazy because they hear something and they go, I'm offended, and they go crazy. And you can't talk them out of it because they didn't get there rationally. You can't rationally talk somebody out of something that they didn't come to it rationally to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, for old timers like us, it just reminds me of the 80s Satanic Panic.
Right.
And I can't get past how much it compares.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you try to defend the point It's kind of like, what is it? If you try to defend the controversy, you're part of the controversy or something like that. Or if you try to explain it, you're part of it. All of a sudden, it's just like, no. I don't care what you believe one way or another. It just came up as a conversation. I don't see it the same way you do.
Yeah. You know what I see is that it sounds like it's just straw men, they're just setting up all kinds of straw men. It doesn't matter what your true intent was or what your platform of how you were presenting something. They see it and attack it as it's something else. So
now
I guess you're right.
I do want to go on record by saying that there are plenty of assholes out there who deserve this kind of treatment. There are plenty of people out there who are misogynistic in a major way. They have hate issues on women, and they deserve to be fucking treated this way. They really do. Right? But honestly, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because when you cry wolf, you fucking make it so that no one gets the message across, because people go, "Oh, I'm not listening anymore."
And I'd like to go on record real quick and say that none of them are in this podcast right now.
No,
those people that deserve it. I would just like to say, in my humble opinion,
I don't think anyone deserves to be doxxed, harassed, fired, etc. Even if they are the biggest misogynistic prick in the world. Just argue their points. But the trouble is, so many people are getting hit in the crossfire or misidentified, having their reputations trashed and so on. It does no good for the good causes at all.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't mean that they deserve to be harassed or doxxed, but I mean they deserve to be criticized.
Yes.
But like criticized in like a normal fashion, the way you do anything else. I don't agree with you. Okay, great. Move on. So anyway, moving forward, so I have a couple things. So a couple of your titles that I have some questions about. So Macho Women with Guns. Was that a D20 version of BTRC's game?
Yeah, Mongoose talked to the original author and got permission from him to do a sort of D20 modern version. Mm-hmm. So and tapped me to write it. It lost quite a lot in editing, actually. I had quite a lot of political humor in it originally that was cut away. I mean, that was during the Bush presidency, which was just ripe for comedy.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of that got cut, and unfortunately, I think the final product had a few misprinted pages and things in it as well. But it was a very fun project to run and to try and sort of hammer some kind of cohesive game world out of the original booklets. Right. That was a lot of fun.
It's a fairly silly premise to begin with, but it's fun. I know Greg Porter. I've met Greg Porter. He's a cool dude, and we've played a bunch of his games. Matter of fact, we're playing one of his games right now, Mike. One of those games that Greg Porter puts out, like Time Lords.
Oh God.
We're not playing Time Lords, but we're playing Core, which is it's a very crunchy mathematical game. But Macho Women with Guns was one of his light-handed games.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then I noticed you did Chronicles of Gore recently, which is cool. I never read the novels. My friend John, or one of our gaming buddies that Mike and I have, he loves that series. Like I'm going to turn him on to this because he's going to be very happy to hear that there's actually a game. Is it out yet? Is it?
If you backed it, the raw text of the game is available for people who backed it on Kickstarter. Now, unfortunately, the artist I tapped, Michael Manning, who's doing all the art for it, he's quite a famous artist in the kind of fetish BDSM circles. So he's doing all the art, but he's had all sorts of problems. I can't go into it because it's like personal stuff, but it's just mean there's been delay after delay after delay, but he's on top of it now. I'm getting pieces of art, one or two a week through, and it shouldn't be too much longer.
All right,
and the stuff's fantastic. There's a bunch of it on my blog if people want to go and have a look, and it's just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I saw some of it. And what is the system for that game? What's the mechanics?
Well, I used the old D6 system, the old West End Games D6 system. They made that OGL a while back, and I've used that on a couple of projects. And we still play D6 Star Wars. Actually, my gaming group. So that is one of the best. Yeah. It's a great system. It's easy to pick up. Everyone has 6-sided dice, even if they've never gamed before. It's just I find it to be a really good introductory one. And I figured with Gore, there's a whole bunch of people who are fans of the books or, role play online and stuff and have never seen a conventional role-playing game. So I wanted to go with something that was reasonably easy to pick up for new players, but had enough depth to satisfy older players. So I decided to go with that. Plus, the whole template system really works with Gore, because Gore is society is a caste system, so people have very kind of defined roles within the world. So if you've got templates, it just works perfectly.
Right. Awesome. Okay. And then so you another game that you released. It's a card game that I love. I mean, I actually had to buy a copy of it. Is the Privilege Check. That was so funny. I was looking at some of the cards. As a matter of fact, I was looking at somebody who was critiquing. This is where I found it. So I'm not going to mention the name, but somebody who was, what's the word? Critiquing you, or lambasting, I guess would be the word, had mentioned it and had pictures of it. And I was like, oh, let me check this out. And I went and looked it up and I was like, oh shit, I got to get a copy of this. So I'd like to thank that person for turning me on to it.
Sometime when James
surprising how often that happens.
Sometimes when his infamy, helped him out, then is what you're saying.
Right. So Mike, that is image 2. If you could pull that
already
up.
there, boss. Already there.
All right, sweet. So James, just real quick, let's go over this real quick. So the game is basically you have a deck of cards and you're playing 36 cards, is it, or something like that? 30
something like that.
Yeah. And the idea is to be the most what is it? Negative social.
The idea is to be the lowest on the ladder, to have the most negative bad things about you.
Right.
Or bad things, not
right. Yeah, bad. They're not really bad.
To be the most oppressed person.
That's it. That's where I look. Okay. So Mike, this first one is for you. Other kin. So I was a half vampire, half werewolf, which in a past life, the Inquisitive burned me to death. So these are these people who identify with being like animals, or they don't believe that they're human?
I'm a pyrophos from the forest planet.
Right.
Yeah.
But furries would fall into this, right?
Furries,
people
right?
like furkin.
Oh, you need to make a distinction. Furries like to dress up as animals. They don't necessarily believe that they're animals.
Well, I think there's a subset.
Some of them do.
There's a subset.
Some of them do. Then there'll be other kin as well. You see,
Yes.
You've got to be careful. There's perfectly nice, relatively sane, slightly smelly furries out there, but other kin are, out the window.
Right. And then so these cards, they have pluses and minuses on them. So the idea is, I think, what is it? You play pluses on other people if you can, and you play minuses on yourself.
Yeah, and you have a hidden card, which is one of these qualities, but all the qualities that are on display have to make sense.
Okay.
So you can't be, say, both
heterosexual,
both heterosexual and agender, or something.
Okay.
It all has to line up. You can't be two races because there's a biracial card.
Okay.
So,
right. So there's one of the other. All right. So one of these other cards. Proud brown person, and I just I love the quote under this is, guess my race, guess wrong, and I will guilt trip you into the Stone Age.
See, that's the one I have had the most stick about. But the thing is, I based it on the experience of a Guyanese friend of mine, and she's part Chinese, part Indian, part black, part white. Okay. And the racial politics in Guyana around this just blow your mind. But she lives in Canada, and people are never sure what she is, and they never know what to say. And she plays up on it. So I was trying to bring that across because I just found it fascinating and hilarious.
Does she give people a hard time, or does she just like the fun people?
Sometimes she gives people a hard time. It's a good excuse to give people a hard time if they're being shits. But otherwise, just to play tricks on people.
Yeah, it's in fun. Okay. My wife's the same way. She's actually from Trinidad and Tobago, and she is West Indian, but everyone always thinks that, no one would ever guess that that's where she's from. So, or even that she's from India. So for that matter.
It's weird, actually. I mean, look at me. I'm pale as snow, but on Twitter, no one seems to be able to know what race I am. I've been called everything. White supremacists are convinced that I am black,
right?
And their opposite number are calling me all kinds of things, mongoloid, and
is it a blue dress or a white dress with gold? Right.
Well,
who knows?
what it really boils down to, people get really worked up about this. I mean, I personally don't believe that race is a real thing. I think, there are people who grew up in, there's like, there's cultures, and then there are phenotypes that you can have, but the good old boy concept of race is completely flawed, because then when you get like your friend who's like 4 or 5 different things, right? Well, what race is she? Well, she's, it doesn't matter. It's kind of pointless, really. It gets kind of futile, because what are you saying if you say somebody's this race? What are you actually saying? You're not really saying anything about them, because they either are or aren't some of the things associated with that, and there's nothing to determine it. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's more, to me at least, it's more who you are. I guess some people would say I'm coming at that from a position of white privilege where I'm free to ignore it or something. But I think that's what we should be aspiring to. Is to ignore it and treat each other just as human beings.
Right. And I get that. No, I get where they're coming from. I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't they shouldn't take pride in who they are, and we shouldn't minimize any struggle they have due to other people's perceptions of them. I'm just saying that if we all start thinking that way and start pushing that as an agenda, as in stop your why are you worried about this or that? Don't worry about it at all. It doesn't exist. It's fabrication, right? Then we might all just like kind of move on to the next level.
Hey, is it safe to say that we, as well, I can't even, it's hard for me to say white privileged for myself, having a Jewish background, but you know what, whatever, because I'm an atheist free thinker anyway. But is it safe to say, though, that we can just say we're taking equality back? Can we take equality back? Is that something we can do?
Yeah.
That would be a great thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then egalitarianism is racist and sexist now, apparently. So,
God damn it!
All right,
guys, it's the Kobayashi Maru of social, interaction. It's just...
It is. There is no way to win except not to play.
Right? Yeah, that's how I feel. I just, maybe in 100 years we'll all be where we need to be. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe my daughter will grow up in a world that's better than what we got now.
Yeah, it's good to be hopeful.
Yeah, I'm trying, doing my best. Everybody love everybody else. That's what I'm saying. All right, so, but let's talk about your modern stuff, like the stuff you've been doing lately. That I found really interesting. One of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show. We had you on Game School, and you had a book. Mike, image 3, please. Machinations of a Space Princess, which was a lot of fun. We played that with Satine Phoenix, and it was a really cool adventure. It's basically, I saw it as sort of like harkening back to Galaxina, Barbarella, and Heavy Metal magazine.
Yeah, those were all the inspirations for it. Growing up, I kind of inherited all my dad's like 60s and 70s science fiction paperbacks. He had shelves and shelves and shelves of this stuff, and I tore through that. I've been reading comics since I was about 3 years old, mostly 2000 AD, which is like the British comic, but also got to see a few European comics as well. So I drew on all that. When I got older, I didn't discover Heavy Metal magazine until I got older, because it wasn't really on sale anywhere here particularly. So I got into that later, found some web archives, naughty me, and bought some old ones. Went through all that, and then I was coming into creating this game, and I decided to take a very different approach to the one I normally take, which is to normally I come at it from the background first, and I build up a really big, solid background idea, and then I tailor the mechanics and stuff to that. This time, I decided to make the setting more implicit, and just build the mechanics and throw in some fun ideas and thematic. Obviously, Machinations of the Space Princess is taken from Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and I loved the way Raggy went about that. And, it's basically just old core OSR D&D, but the way he presents it and the way he talks about it and the GM tips and the kind of the world he creates through the art and all the rest in the book, that's what makes it, that's what gives it that hook and gets you in that mood to play. So I tried to do something more like that with it.
Right. Okay. And then so it's basically, all right, so do you have let me try this again. So do you have did you support that with any other products, or is it like its own book and then you do what you want with it, or
It's its own book. I've got a couple of half-written adventures to put out at some point, and I'm working on a companion. See, the irony is that after I spent all that time and effort making a game with no background, apart from little hints here and there, people are like, "Oh, tell us more about the background."
Right.
So I'm going to have some alternative rules and a much more detailed game background and so on.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So I suggest everybody go out and get that, because we had a fun time with it. It's very easy entry. You know, I mean, it's old school D&D. It's really simple, you know, straightforward. If you play D&D, you pretty much know how to play the game. I mean, it's right there. So then just real quick before we wrap up, we want to talk a little bit about projects. So your latest thing that you're doing that I noticed on your website was is it RPG product? Because I saw it like #RPG product. Is that all part of the name, or is it just project?
It's just project.
Okay.
But I hashtag everything RPG because
okay, gotcha. Okay.
It makes it easy. It makes it easy for people to find. And the project isn't a particularly great search word.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was not internet ready.
Right.
Okay, so I was more mentoring someone doing that project. A friend of mine called Wit. I think it goes by the Ravener on Twitter and various other places. Now, ages ago, he came up with this game concept and then kind of shelved it. But it always kind of stuck with me. I knew him through both being fans of SLA Industries back in the days of mailing lists and so on, and he put that out to a few people on there. And just the idea kept sticking in with me and niggling at me. And basically, the idea is that there's this huge kind of reality breakdown. The post-apocalypse has already happened and people have rebuilt, but there's this constant threat after reality broke that things are going to continue to intrude, and that can be anything. It could be, you know, your standard tentacled outer god pushing through, or it could be, you know, some kind of savage version of the Smurfs infesting a housing block or something. Yeah, it could be anything like that. So Project is this kind of quasi-corporate entity that creates superhumans who are adaptable and powerful enough, hopefully, to deal with anything that breaks through. And so you're part of these corporate teams of cyborgs and enhanced individuals and people who can plug into weapons and robots and, you know, all this stuff, who are sent to these places to deal with the problems.
Right. Oh, cool. Neat. And again, I always like to ask what system, because people, I mean, I know it doesn't always matter what system something is. A lot of people say, oh, it's just about the setting and stuff like that. Well, that's fine, but there are people who do care. So what system is that?
I adapted it from his original system again to the D6 system.
Okay, good.
It's been one I've been using a lot on projects recently. I don't know. I like it. And for this one, again, similar to Gore, because the superhero, it's not really a superhero game, but it's just the best way to get a handle on it. The whole template system very well. So you can grab a character sheet, modify it, and you're good to play. You know, it's really quick to get into that way.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. I'll have to check that out. And then the one last thing I wanted to talk to you about before we move on to the second segment of the show is the Zealot Scholarship. You'd mentioned that it's funded, but it's still going, and you've only had a couple applications. So what's that about?
Okay. I had a friend. He was known online as Dark Cell, and he did a lot of art for me, and I kind of mentored him and helped pay his way through school, because he would do art for me and I would pay him, and you know, it was a good kind of reciprocal relationship. Unfortunately, he was killed. He was in South Korea teaching English, and just crossing the road one day and got hit by a bus out of the blue. So since then, kind of in his memory, I was racking my brains for something I could do to commemorate him. Because I like to do something practical to remember people. Like you, I'm atheist, secular. So praying and stuff doesn't really do it for me, and right. Memorials just seem empty. So I wanted to do something practical, and I thought back to our working relationship and our friendship, and I figured that the best thing I could do would be to do for others what I did for him.
Okay, cool.
So all his old artwork, I talked to his mother and I got permission, and all his old artwork is still on sale, and all the money that's raised by that goes into the scholarship. I do a fundraiser every year, and call for applications. So asking for people who are in high school, college, university, who are disabled, who have been unemployed a long time, but who are artists in science fiction and fantasy, they can all apply, and they'll get usually around, at the moment at least, around $700, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of ramen.
Right. Right.
And it's a tablet to use with your computer, or a good camera or something. Yeah, it helps.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're like in art school and you're trying to get your degree in art, $700 would buy you, like you said, a lot of ramen. That would buy you a lot of food for that semester.
And the art that wins each year goes into the pool of stock art, so it helps raise money for the next year. So,
where can we find that art?
So it works. So yeah, if people out there, I don't know if anyone listening knows anyone who would like to apply, applications are open till the end of this month. And I have actually finally had 2 applications.
Okay, where do people apply?
My email address directly is probably the best way to go about it. That's grim@postmort.demon.co.uk.
All right, cool. I'll put that in the show notes. And is this something that goes every year? So if somebody's watching or listening to this later on, can they? Will this be something that'll be happening again next year?
If you've missed it this year, you can apply next year. Or if you're an art tutor or something at a college, and next year you find someone in your class who's into science fiction and fantasy art and could apply, then pass it on. Just keep it in mind till next year.
James, if I'm interested in making a donation in the form of buying some of the art, though, where can I go to see it, and where can people go to purchase it?
Okay, I have fairly extensive stock art galleries on RPG now for other designers and for people to use in their home games, but you'll want the Zealot subcategory.
Okay, so RGP now, Zealot. Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Let's go to Postmortem Studios, and then the category is Zealot. It's because it's Z, it's down towards the bottom. So.
Oh, that's right. Over in your part of the world, that is Z.
Yes.
Not Z.
Not Z. No. It's zebra, not zebra.
Right.
Zebra.
That's
right.
awesome.
In aluminium.
Colonials.
Right.
I love
Yankees.
Where you guys get that aluminium. All we have is aluminum around here.
Right.
Aluminum. Do.
That's fun.
Nice.
All right. So, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show, James. But we're going to ask you to stick around and play a game with us.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Strip dominoes or something.
Right. Okay, Mike. Anytime
just with the text, did you responded to it? I don't understand where we went wrong there.
What? How are we doing? Blah blah blah. And then so we're not going to do a game. Okay, that's fine. We can edit this
Jesus Christ. So no. You know what? No editing,
dude.
We'll fix it in post.
It's hard to
so,
do an interview and read text from you.
I apologize for Peter's brain lapse. What will be the game for this week will be, actually, since we are pre-recording this episode, I will be doing tomorrow after the Super Bowl. I will be recording my yearly, or shall I say annually, my Super Bowl commercial wrap-up. So please stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Back to you.
Thank you, Mike.
Peter.
All right, James. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We try to keep the show short. We've been known to run it very, very long, so we've crunched it down to
pull the trombone in a little bit.
Yeah, we're tromboning it in a little bit. So
brevity is the soul of wit.
Yes. So we want to thank you for coming on. It was great, and we'll make sure to tag all your links and such in our notes. And this show will go live tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to spread it around, you can spread it all around. I'll send you a link.
Will do.
All right. So Mike, I guess then we got to run the closer, eh?
Running the closer, sir. Preview editor, and then I do this thing here. Folks, I'm trying to actually use the double window thing, so we'll see how it goes here. And back to you, Peter.
You've just enjoyed another awesome episode of the MythWits. A special thanks goes out to our guest host, James Desborough. Make sure to check out his work at Postmortem Studios and at Chronicle City. Join us for a live broadcast every week, Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, to catch the full show. Jump into the chat room and ask our guests questions. Couldn't do it on this one. Sorry, folks. If you miss our live show, you can always catch the encore episodes and the podcast version at our website and on iTunes. You can find our website at mythwits.com, and you can visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Do the like, follow, subscribe thing wherever it's appropriate. Please give us a bunch of stars and reviews on iTunes because it's super duper important. MythWits is a Studio97.com production and is protected under a Creative Commons license. You can download and share it with whoever you like. Just don't change it. Don't try to make money with it. And don't dox us. Make sure to check out Studio187.com for more cool stuff. And make sure to join our mailing list to get free stuff every month. And we're not doing it yet because not enough people signed up. And find out about all the other things that we are up to. Mike, you got a mommy thing? No mommy? Mommy?
Mother, it's not the size of the ghost. It's the motion of the ether.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. James, thanks for coming on the show. We'll see you all next week.